Hi there, friends. It's Barb Pask back for part 2 of this still life. I haven't moved the still life or the painting. It should be pretty much the same lighting. I did run off with the tripod today and brought it back, but I think you got a pretty good view there. The only thing I did after we went off camera was I lightened that a little. And today I just did a test to see how wet it felt, so that area might feel a little lighter too. It's a very warm painting right now the way it is. It's kind of interesting though. It feels lit from below like it is. Let me talk about this a little bit. You can do this. I obviously use mostly burnt sienna and some bit of ultramarine to get the dark darks. You can do this with black and white. The disadvantage to that is white is a lot slower drying. And this is not dry, but if you wanted it completely dry, that would slow down your drying process. Most people that work in this way, they do a pretty precise underpainting and they go on top of it with glazes. If you're a traditional oil painter, you probably would use liquid. And so you're not really, and so your color glazes on top are more transparent. And there are videos out there that you can watch like that. That's not really what I'm doing. I just, I did it, for something to do, number one, just for the experience. I did it to try to paint in values first. My intention tonight is to stay close to these same values that you see, but I won't be doing glazes. I won't be doing transparent glazes. I'm going to be painting this. But again, not my drawings here basically, and I'm not going to waste the work that I did in laying down the values. I am going to definitely consider the values. But again, that's what I'm doing. A lot of people that they wouldn't do this, like I say, to just paint over it like I'm going to. But it's a good practice. I mean, if you never add color to it and you just do these value studies and put them aside, I think it's really good practice for you. Very good practice for you. Because values are, I consider, such an important element in learning to paint. You could do a lot of these value studies, and again, maybe don't do a warm color like I did. Maybe use black and white. Do your values. You could pre-mix different values, grays and blacks, and do your value study, and then photograph your setup again and compare it to your study, and do a lot of those. Just do value studies. That'd be a great thing to do for, quite a while. So, all right, let's just get going here. Because my darks are already in here, we're not going into the darks first this time. I think I'll just start, we'll paint out the picture first. I will lay in the darks on the picture first. I did not pre-mix anything, which would save us some time. Let me show you the setup again. Swing you around. And again, I'm not sure through the camera how well things read. The picture and the plate are a warmer white than the tablecloth. I don't know if it reads that way to you. The picture to me looks a bit warmer than the plate. There's a nice warm section in here. And you get the glare through this camera too. I'm looking at it now and probably doesn't read as accurately as, or quite the same as I'm looking at it. But hopefully you can see that the tablecloth is a cooler white. So, all right. I went outside and painted today. Nope, I did not go outside. I went to the park and stayed in my car and painted. I tried to bring you along. I brought the tripod, I brought the microphone. I tell you, I have to work on that. I just couldn't find a good way to set the camera up and see what I was even seeing. I filmed for a few minutes, and I surprisingly didn't have it on me. But we'll work on that. So, but I wanted to get out. There aren't a lot of, we're not supposed to be out here in Ohio unless it's essential, but they do encourage us to get exercise. So I went to a park, because we're allowed to go to parks and walk, and this particular park has a barn in it. So that's why I chose that place. So, but I'll be getting, hopefully I'm allowed. I'm not sure whether I'll be able to actually, I definitely go out in my car again, but I've got to get a better rig for my camera. So anyway, let's think about our picture here. It's white, so I laid out some white. It's a warm white. I may need to get some more paint out here. All right, I'm looking at the dark areas of the picture. Okay. Just pulled some of the white over, and I'm playing around and dirtying it up basically for my shadow area. Put a little blue, put a little transparent red oxide. These are, if you're new to my page, these are water mixable oils. I do not use a solvent, though they do make solvents for them. They're basically oils. For me, they work like oils, dry like oils, but they're water cleanup. So that's why I use them, to get away from the solvent. All right, we're going to start with the dark areas. And as I go along, I'll be correcting my drawing any place I feel I need to too. And I could have let this dry a little longer, and maybe I should have, but I didn't want to. I was ready to go. That's the darkest parts of it I see. I can see a little bit of the lip up here. This down here is not as dark, even though it's slightly darker than this area here. Again, maybe you feel I wasted my effort, by not glazing, but I don't feel I did. I had fun, and it was a good exercise, trying to think in value only. It's a very different way to work. And again, I could have pre-mixed color before we started, and that would have saved time. This area is lighter. What a beautiful day we had today here. Husband mowed the front yard. It was pretty nice. We're getting ready to get a new driveway and a deck, patio this year. We're going to rip our deck off, actually. So we might start tackling that tomorrow. We've had a deck the whole time we've been here, and I don't know if you have a deck, but they're a bit of a nuisance. Get tired of resealing them. They seem like they need it almost every year. And this color, I don't know how it feels to you, but it's a warm white. It's white with a bit of, I think I put Indian yellow in it. Doesn't feel that way, probably. Let me tighten this down again. So it's not flopping around. I think I get into painting and I don't notice. You know, you got your brain all focused on what you're doing, and sometimes you just don't notice little noises. And I do find that I tone quite often, as you've noticed, with an orange color, and I find that until you get the canvas covered, it's really difficult to judge value and color. This looks blue to me. It isn't blue. Don't know how it looks through the lens. Definitely looks like a cool white. See, it's just comparison. It's comparing one thing to another. And this is yellow and white. Isn't that hard to believe? It looks blue. It's amazing, isn't it? I took a different yellow to try to see how that would look. Okay. Again, let's just get moving, because I'm always saying that you can't judge till you get everything on the canvas. Now let's look at the handle. There's parts of that that's catching a little more light. We'll just loosely block that in for now. Now that definitely is more of a blue color, that shadow area. Right. And I could continue on with the whites, and maybe I should, because I've got it out here. I think that's what we'll do. That makes more sense. And I mentioned this the other night, and there's not a lot of variation in value in this plate. And you notice I'm stroking down. Part of the reason is I don't get a real, I'm not doing that. Not at this point anyway, I don't know. I don't want to get a real hard edge. And this plate has a gold edge on it, so we'll be adding that too. I think kids are out of school for the year now. I mentioned that the other night. I don't think they're going back. My daughter's a teacher and teaches second grade. You know, and you can imagine as the year rolls along, she just falls in love with her students, and she had to go by her room yesterday and pick up a few things, and she isn't allowed back in the building now till I don't know when. And said she shut the door and started crying, just thinking she won't see him again. The way her school's set up, even though they're second graders, they're the oldest children in the school. It's pre-K through second, so they leave the building. It used to go through sixth grade, and she would get to watch them grow up, and they'd come down and see her and get a hug, and it was hard on her when they switched the building over. But now she's concerned she won't get to see him again. This is lighter down in here. I think it's reflected light from the tablecloth. Yeah, I'm so proud of her. She's just a wonderful person. If she was teaching your child, you'd feel fortunate, because she just loves them all so much. All right, let's keep going. I think we'll block in the green, the leaves. All right, I'm going to play around. Usually, if I were doing this without this underpainting, I would probably just mass them all in with a transparent green, but I'm going to play around here. It's more of a blue-green. Do a little test. That's not bad. And I don't even mind if some of this warm peeks through the finished painting. I think that might be nice. I'm looking at the lighter areas. Like I said, these are a bunch of overlapping leaves. It's a different way for me to work. Normally, like I said, I would have just blocked in the whole mess. I wouldn't have, I don't know. We're just trying stuff. And then we've got to go back in with our darks. That's a little section of a leaf there. It's catching light. So is that. This over here. Looking where else I see this green. Okay. I'm going to darken it up a whole lot here. Now, am I dark enough? I'm not as dark as that value. Let's go a little darker. The barn that I started today is a white barn. White's not my favorite. I like red barns better, but it's called there's a quilt on the front of it. They do these, there's a guy in my area that designs and makes these wood quilt patterns, and they install them on barns around here. Kind of interesting, yeah. I don't know if I'll paint that on it or not. I've painted this barn quite a few times. I thought about just, not making it any specific white barn. Maybe it'd be easier to sell. I lost that little stem, so obviously it wasn't light enough. One of the things that's nice about geranium leaves is that bit of red that's on them. I like that. These obviously are fake, so I feel like that's a bit dark. All right, let's put those stems in. They're a warm color. And they're pretty light. Using a big brush here. You can hardly tell I'm painting them in, can you? We may lighten them on the edge there a little bit. And we may even take a palette knife, and probably will actually, with some of these geraniums and stuff. Like on the edge of those well, I got that right on, didn't I? You can't even see it. I was just trying to hit the edge of them with a little light. We'll come back and do that later, and then we'll probably lay in some heavy stuff on the blooms. That'd be fun. All right. Let's get our little red window out and compare some values. I didn't get that out tonight. Hold on just a sec. I use a suitcase for my gear. I have a Columbia suitcase. It's on wheels, and that's what I roll all around. If you didn't watch the first video, this is what I was talking about. It's a picture perfect viewfinder, and this one's a mess, but it has these little windows that you can look through and look at value. So actually the value of the leaves are pretty close. Let's see if you can, I don't want to move the tripod around much. Can you tell the value of the green leaves compared to the white? Okay, let's move you around. See if we can do the same here. So I'm looking over there, I'm looking over here. That's pretty close. Okay. Whether or not I like the green, I mean, that's my call, or you like it, or okay. Let's keep moving forward. I guess we're ready to switch to the red, maybe. I'm going to bring this out a little bit, this lip. And like I said, there's some metallic gold on the edge of that. Should be darker than that. There's just a few places that I'm not seeing much that really explains it as being a metallic gold, actually. Trying to think why I left that like that. There's a leaf here. Not sure. All right, let's move on to the red. We'll block in those darkest darks where we see them. I'm going to take some crimson, just the two reds that I use. I use a limited palette, by the way. Ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, cad yellow medium, cad lemon, crimson, and cad red light, and coarse white. And I like transparent red oxide and Indian yellow. Limited palette is great to learn to mix color. So these are the two reds, and I threw in some transparent red oxide. So we'll just go over those darks for now. Don't know for sure if they're exactly right, but that's okay. We're just this process is a good thing to do for portraits. I've had friends that have taken portrait workshops, very meticulous. They grid off the canvas, they grid off the photo, they spend the whole first day, and I think they work with liquid, so because that speeds up the drying time, and they do their value study the first day, and then they go back with glazes and paint over it. I think it's an okay thing to do. I mean, they come home with some beautiful paintings. I think you need to put it into your own, if you're going to do it and learn to do it, I think you need to do it for your own work too, portraits that you do on your own. I'm looking at not my lightest lights right now. Usually I would just, and I'm going to do that because that's the way I work, and I usually would just block in. I do my darkest darks and my mid-tones, and then I come back with my lightest lights. I like to mass flowers in and then explain a few. I think what we'll do now, let's see how it would look if we go pure cad red light, just to see how that would look. It's probably not light enough. No. And it's tricky when you start throwing white into red. You know that if you're an artist, because then you end up pink. You know, sometimes not as warm as you would like them to be. So I've thrown white into lighten, and then I've thrown some yellow in. Let's see what we get. And my plan here is to explain some of them. You know, I could leave this background just as it is if I wanted, and we'll see. I might. I'm just looking around for every light area that I see. I said I've got this lit from underneath, so the light's kind of shining up through it. And I think it felt that way even with the underpainting. Put a few little centers here and there. I have to decide if I'm painting over the background before I get too picky with that. I like geraniums. A lot of times have those little things, little petals hanging down, and I like that, but maybe I gotta decide if I'm doing the background before I get ahead of myself. Let's leave those for now, and we'll move on to the apples. All right, let's start with the darkest part of the apples. Again, I'm going into my two reds, and we'll go a little darker with some transparent red oxide. And this area here is lighter a bit. Feels as though it needs to be a little, oops, sorry. So what are you doing to keep yourself busy? Are you painting? I said that the other night, but I think as artists we're lucky because a lot of people don't mind being stuck in the house and painting. This area here is reflecting that tablecloth, and it's lighter and cooler. Let me think about that. You know, and just because I see it that way doesn't mean I'll leave it that way. It may not feel right to me. I do try to paint what I see, but you know, it has to make sense to the viewer, so if it means changing it, you change it, you know. See, and as I'm looking at it here, I don't know if I like that or not. And this part of the apple oil, as you remember, is green. I'm going to try something just this green there. I'm going to try to put a little bit of that down in here. It's not really the green that's in the apple, but I thought it might kind of pull things together. I've seen artists paint where they get their brush load and they're like, well, if it puts some there, and you know, they just kind of put it all over. If you see it there, let's put it here. And I've been staying with this brush the whole time, for better or worse here, I don't know. Let's put a stem in here. And back in here, which is so dark you wouldn't really probably see it. I think I told you one time I took a workshop, and excellent painter, Nancy Frank, and the way she would do her stems is she would wiggle out here and then pull it in. I don't know. With fake apples, you know, the stems usually aren't very great, so it's not like I particularly want to paint what I see there. There's a couple of highlights on the plate. I think I mentioned that to you. And I don't really see any highlights on the picture. But I think I'm going to throw a little bit on there. We'll see how that works. Does that shape feel right on that plate? Let's see. Let's put some shadow color under the apple. Darkest right up by the apple. Bit of a shadow there. I don't know how that'll read. We'll see. So the tablecloth, as I mentioned, is white, but it's a cooler white. You know where else I see a little highlight? I don't know why. Is here. I don't know. We'll see if it makes sense, but I see one there. That again might be my ceiling light. All right, to the tablecloth. Just stick my brush in the paint. I am a sloppy painter. I've got this cute little ball I should have out here. It's like a wire ball, and you can just shove brushes in any place. I got a brush holder clipped to my easel here, don't get me wrong, but I tend to lay them around still. I've got this, which is great. Easelbrushclip.com. It holds brushes in both sides and clips on the easel. I love that thing. I carry it outside and everywhere I go. No excuse for being sloppy. I just am. All right, so let's mix the white for the tablecloth. Again, like I said, it feels to be somewhat cooler than the pitcher and the plate. But I don't want to make it blue. Feels pretty blue, doesn't it? We're just getting paint on the canvas for now. Getting the tiniest little bit of light over here, which, as you can see, I left that spot the other night, which I think I like, but we'll see if it reads. It may not make sense, so there's that little dot there. I may have to do away with it. probably doesn't actually, you know, I saw it there though, and I left it. It just caught my eye. Go back in with my shadow. I'll show you a little fun tool. I've showed it before, but if you're newer to my channel, you probably haven't seen it. I've got several of these. This is Catalyst by Princeton. It's like a palette knife, but it's rubbery and flexible. Very fun. I've got a smaller one. I have a great big one. But it's like a palette knife, but like I said, it's very flexible. You can actually mix paint right on your canvas with it. I've used it like for landscapes, and you can get some kind of cool effects. Like for grasses, it's really cool. Just turn it on edge, and I don't know, we're just trying it. This again feels a bit darker than that, so let's do that. And again, maybe, you know, I don't want to cover up all this warmth. Got into my flower. That's okay. We'll get it back. We'll just get some of this on here, and then we'll push it around, decide how much we want to cover up of that. Yeah, I kind of like that warm background, so I'm going to move to a brush that's a little bit bigger. We live by a park, which I mentioned, which is really nice. I can go walk there. I feel real fortunate. Boy, it just gets busier by the day, though. People needing to get out, I guess. It's feeling crowded, and you know, we're all a little paranoid about anybody getting near us. Warm that up a little bit. I'm going to try something. That's what it's all about, right? I'm going to try to scrape this back a little bit. Let some of that warmth peek through. What is she doing, right? I'm just pushing color back and forth, that's all. I felt like this color here was too isolated. And I need to learn to edit. What you see with me is what you get. I don't know how to edit. So I film these and I stick them on. So it's pretty much like watching me live. So if I were to say something really, really stupid, I wouldn't be able to use it, I guess. I try to watch what I say. I did mess around and in iMovie, and I pieced a couple pieces together once, but then it wouldn't let me post them because it said it was too large. So I got a lot to learn. It's okay. I'm enjoying it anyway. Mixing up a very dark, kind of looking at the background. I didn't paint over that, remember? Kind of cutting back the size of that apple a little bit. Seemed a little large. Okay, let's get our excuse me, our palette knife back out. Ordered some new liner brushes. I did have a friend message me about how to help the bad ones that I had. I think he said put them in boiling water. I haven't tried that. But ordered a few new ones. Try to take better care of them. Ordered some paints and some panels, and I used Dick Blick. I really like Dick Blick. I've had great experience with them. I don't know who you use, but they, if you have any problems, they're great. And if you do use them, you can pay extra for the express shipping, but don't, because there's no reason to. They're very quick. That's always been my experience anyway. The paints that I use are mostly Cobra, the water mixables, and I can't get those everywhere, but I get them through Dick Blick. Looking where I need light. That's that red line in there. We got to kick that back though. I think there's some fun things going on with the light, because the light's kind of coming up this way and catching little bits, little dabs of the flowers here and there. I think that's kind of nice. Squint here. You know, and this is an impression of geraniums. So you can throw some color around wherever you want it. No, I don't like that. I was trying to suggest that was metallic, but that don't really work. Series of corrections, right? years ago I bought a book. I like Helen Van Wyck, and she's passed away, but there was a book that she put out on color recipes. It was a pretty good book. I haven't looked at it in years, but she tells you how she mixed copper and brass, and it was pretty interesting. I should get it out and look at it again, huh? Kind of cleaning that up. Let's see. I'm looking around now to see where I could improve it at. Let's get back. See, I don't like that at all. I don't think it really adds anything to the painting. Get rid of that. Okay, now, I've mentioned it before, but I like reflected color, even if you don't see it. So I'm going to take some of my red from my apples and put it on the handle there. We're going to put a little red in the picture there. Again, I did not do this real light value here. I see it, but I kind of made the decision not to do it. How long we've been at this? About an hour. Okay. See, I still see a lot of warmth in there, and I think I like that, so I don't want to overwork that. You know, if they were fresh flowers, it might have been a nice touch to lay a few petals down here. I do that kind of thing frequently with still lifes. And I could make it up or try, but it doesn't always work well. Okay, now wait, see one more thing. It's always one more thing, isn't it? Want to push that picture in a little bit. I think it makes it more attractive. All right, what do we think? I'm looking at the plate. I want it to feel symmetrical, you know. Trying to decide if it does. Okay. I'm going to try to ground a few of these things a little bit more. Push and pull, right? All right, I'm about to call it, I think. Whoa. A tiny little bright edge down there I was trying to get. Keep at it long enough we can just mess it all up, right? Hey, if you haven't liked and subscribed, please consider doing that, will ya? And the little bell, if you push that, then it will notify you when I post something again. All right, are we happy with that pretty much? I'm comparing it to what I've got over there, and actually in reality this leaf is clear over here. Don't know that I want to move it though. I don't know that I want the leaf to be that predominant, you know. All right, let's get away from it. I'm going to look at it now that I think I'm finished with my little red window again and see how much I messed up my values compared to where they were. Not too bad, really. Yeah, not too bad. These are still light enough. The leaves are about right. It's pretty close. Let's see if I can back up and I'll show you the painting. Hang on. All right, there's the painting. Let's show you the painting through the, see if this will work or not, I don't know. Does that work for you? I don't know how well it's focusing. Get an idea of the value of the, that one any better? The value of the leaves and the flowers. Okay, then we'll go over to the setup. Again, I don't know how accurate this is for you at all, maybe not at all. But as I look through it, and I look at the setup, and I compare it to my painting. I don't think it's too bad. I think I might try to get a little more light in the flowers, which is tricky. Again, with reds, when you start adding white to lighten, then you get pink. I can go a little more orange, but the texture helps, I think, don't you? All right, it was fun to do. Hope you enjoyed watching. Like and subscribe, and I don't know, I'll figure out something to do next time. Maybe take you outside before too long because the weather's getting nice. All right, thanks for joining me so much. You have a nice evening.